Giant episode 2 here on Toro Talk with Brian and Alex. We're going to talk linebackers. We're going to talk FanFest. We're going to also talk about Continental Shift. We're going to highlight the rules. But Alex, how do we start every show?
Vamos Toros.
Welcome, everyone, to the premiere, the official podcast of your San Antonio Toros, brought to you by Complete Care and South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital. I'm, of course, joined by Alex Allman. How are you? I see you got a different background. It's not the
different
old
background.
stadium.
Well, yeah, I got a little bit of San Antonio here. What do you think? Doesn't that look very San Antonio-ish behind me?
There you go. You're vacationing. This is a man of many travels, so you might see a lot of different backgrounds here with Alex.
But we never vacation from the Toros.
Never vacation from the Toros. Talking about that, they're hard at work this week. 4 signings: Alonzo Graham, the running back; Manny Stevenson, the tight end; Logan Weedman, the offensive lineman; and Stephen Parker, the defensive lineman. It's active season, right? It's active season for this team because they're trying to build. The UFL is in the middle of their season already. There's a lot of opportunity here for a lot of guys. The portal is back open, right? So guys that maybe don't come on, and I know you and I both watch Commissioner Kelly talk about that. Like, this could be a home for guys that don't get what they want in the portal, and they don't want to go down. They want to compete here. What do you think about this busy season? It's my time. You know that. Me and you have had a long. I love the GM stuff. You're more of the coach. I'm more of the GM. What do you think about like a GM season here, kind of in the NFL draft season time too?
Yeah, we're in it because like literally they come to camp in a month. So I think middle of May, and then we're playing football right after that. So what are we, like 6 weeks away now from kickoff? Yeah. So got to get the rest of the guys in, get them invited into camp. So you're right. This is right in your wheelhouse with the GM stuff. And that's one thing too that gets, for some of our fans that may not know, one of as a developmental league, like the Continental Football League, they're looking for guys between that 18 and 25. And Commissioner Kelly spoke very eloquently about like how a lot of these kids go into the portal and they don't land, and then they end up nowhere, no scholarship, they're left out in the cold, and this league of opportunity will give some of these kids a chance to get film. And then the way the contracts are supposedly going to be set up is they're under marketing agreements. So it's the same as like an NIL. So you won't lose eligibility. So I think it's going to get crazy. And I think, in subsequent years, when the league is a little bit more well-known, it's going to really be nuts to follow.
Well, you talk about eligibility, and I kind of chuckled a little bit because what is eligibility anymore? It's not like what we grew up in. Like it seems like kids have eligibility forever. So they're not even kids anymore at some points, right? Like they're middle-aged men. Anyway, so we're gonna go. What's that?
Are you eligible? Are you saying you have eligibility?
Yeah, I still have 4 years. I have a solid 4 years. I'm ready. Alex, did you finish your 4 years of eligibility?
Yeah, I used all mine for baseball.
Well, you lived through COVID, so maybe you get an extra one because you lived through COVID.
Exactly.
And then, yeah. I mean, who knows? Who knows what happens there? So we're going to dive deep into linebackers. We talked about the wideouts last week because it's the offense is going to their production is going to be very special to the offense. I think we both agree the linebackers are going to be very important for this league and this team. So we decided to go to the other side of the ball with linebackers. Is there one guy right when you look at the list, you go, okay, that could be the guy?
Well, there are a few in that, actually. When I look at him, Jamoy Hodge is one that really stood out to me. He's a guy at TCU, played at TCU. He was an Independence Community College guy, team captain for the Frogs in 2023. Yeah. And he started from the middle of his sophomore season on. And his uncle was with the Carolina Panthers. He was invited to the mini camp with the Dolphins and the Chiefs. So, the book on him is he's a pure linebacker. He knows how to set up the defense, really good in the run game, really good in the interior, and a sure tackler. So he's one I think that's a can't miss. The other that jumps out at me would be Jalen Alexander from Purdue.
That's two-time All-Big. That's my guy. That's my guy. I'm calling it right now, Alex.
There you go. Put it down. Bank your savings on that one. 6'1", 240, two-time All Big Ten performer. He does have CFL experience. He was with the Alouettes for a bit. Spent some time with the Bears in 2022. So those guys are played in big time programs. The book on Jalen is he's a dog. He's relentless, explosive, finds the ball. Even when he makes mistakes, he can recover and find the ball. And if you think about Glanville's defenses traditionally have been aggressive, sometimes a bit undersized, but they keep the guys moving, right? And coming from a lot of different areas. And they were going to run to the ball. If they can get 9 hats on the ball, they want 10. If they can get 10, they want 11. Those two guys really stand out to me as from the jump.
Yeah. So you talked about the two big names on the team, right? One's from Purdue, one's from TCU. Let's go to the small side, the smaller schools. Isaiah Brooks, NAIA. I know you're a D3 coach, right? So
that's it.
This is kind of up your alleyway. What do you think about Isaiah
Absolutely.
Brooks?
Absolutely. So he's a guy who I think they feel like his ability to cover, his versatility and coverage is going to be key. Interesting athlete, good size, 6'1", 225. Had a bunch of tackles as a senior. He was all conference in the Sooner Conference with Wayland Baptist. So they feel like he can give you that interior presence, and they feel like he can get out in coverage some too. The one thing about all these linebackers in this group, and I'll just blanket with this statement, all good athletes, all have a nose for the ball, all good athletes. But Isaiah was one, I think, where, he kind of stands out in coverage. So to keep that in mind when, we're in passing downs and whatnot, you might be able to see him out there on the field.
Yeah. Well, and then, you look at these schools and you start to see the smaller schools. And if you're not from the area, you might not know where the smaller school is. Durant Hill, the University of Mary Hardin Baylor. The reason why I know him, it goes back to the Maulers. I don't know if you remember this. Keith Gibson Jr. was from the University of Mary Hardin Baylor, D3.
Yeah.
What do you think about him? Because it seems like he's just that kind of guy that's going to be all over the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about him was his versatility. So he played multiple positions, landed at linebacker, that's kind of where he ended up. But, he's got an eye for the football, big playability. They like him plugging in multiple areas on the field. But, if you go back and look at Mary Hardin Baylor, he was a two-time All-American in 2022 and 2024. And again, we've talked about it. The level sometimes between like a Division III player and Division II and a Division III player and even like an FCS or Division I, it's blinded. And some of these guys are, even develop late as well. So, and Mary Hardin Baylor's had a great program. They've won games. They've won at a big level. They could probably go out there and beat a lot of these Division II schools that are out there. So, a great addition to the Toros linebacking core. D3 guy, I'm pulling for you.
And then to close up the room right now, currently where the roster stands, Giovanni Williams, lightning in the bottle, super fast. He is the veteran. He Alex. I know you're older than I am. I'm just going to put it out there. But when I was born in the last century too. Okay.
Okay.
And
thank you.
I look at this birthdays and I looked at all the linebackers' birthday. They're all born after 2000, except Giovanni Williams. But he's lightning in the bottle, right? He's quick.
Just wait till they ask you for your birthday on one of those dial things where you're spinning the dial.
I've done that. Going back to the 80s is long enough now.
Yeah, this guy Giovanni Williams is interesting. 6'1", 222. Overall, they love his athletic ability. He was in Jets camp, and here's an interesting note for you. When he was in Jets camp in 2025, his brother Quinnen and his brother Quincy were both with the Jets too, and he was vying to be the first brother triplet group, I guess, in NFL history to have 3 brothers on a squad at one time. Very hard worker. Lightning in a bottle. He's one of those guys. He's explosive. He's fast. They really like his ability to play downhill, play without hesitation. Very athletic. So when you look at the 5, the theme is versatile, athletic. It's a good bunch.
That's awesome. That's great to hear, especially coming from a defensive guy like me. I know you don't like. You're not a big fan of linebackers. You're more about touchdown and scoring and all the pretty plays. I like a little dirt underneath my nails. Do you see them adding more before training camp? Obviously, not really knowing who's out there, who they're contacting. Do you anticipate a bigger linebacker room with Jerry Glanville?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I think it's who we can also get on the defensive line to fill in too, because if you think about it, you know, it's about speed. So some
Yeah.
of these guys could even plug in on the edge. So, you know, if you got a linebacker, you might have a linebacker name, but if he's hybrid, more of an edge rusher, you know, somebody that you can put off the edge and bring, you know, maybe they'll keep a few more of those guys. You know, they can only keep 40, 36, and then 4 on the taxi squad. And you wonder, we covered the receivers last week, and, you know, I think we covered 8. Right.
Yeah.
And we're covering the linebackers today. That's another 5. That's the, you know, you're 30 away there to your team, and you still haven't gotten into your big boys up front. So it's going to be very competitive, I think. I'll tell you that. But it's a good bunch. It's a good problem to have when you're picking from really, really good athletes and really good football players.
Awesome. When we come back, we'll talk about fan events right here on Toro Talk. But first, a little commercial break with Complete Care.
When it comes to performance, one thing is true. You can't do your best unless you're feeling your best. Whether you're crushing it in the classroom to ace a test or pushing hard for that extra point, you have no time for downtime. So if you get sidelined by sickness or injury, just remember Complete Care. We have 3 convenient San Antonio locations, and we're open 24/7 to diagnose and treat you quickly. With X-ray, CAT scan, ultrasound, and on-site lab, we'll get you back in the game. Nowhere to go. Complete Care.
Thank you to Complete Care for partnering with Toros, with the San Antonio Toros. But Alex, we're going to switch gears. We talk linebacker. Obviously, you're the X and O guy, but it seems like Josh and the ownership group are the, you know, want to shake hands, kiss babies kind of type, right? So they had that fan event that we promoted last week at the Raising Canes in San Antonio. It seemed like a great event. We're going to show you a few pictures here. Let's see. The transition works. Does transition work, Alex? All my hard work. But the radio stations were there. Fans were there. Obviously, there's a lot of horns forward there. Complete Care obviously has a tent right there, right? The San Antonio, a great partner of the San Antonio Toros. Fans are out. They're going to be, you see all the medallions.
Look at
the medals.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, look at all those medals. That's great. They could put their
the Toros have a
medals
special
in there.
medal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
I did.
The team has a special Fiesta medal. They'll have a booth at Fiesta on the 16th, including, and then they'll be at the Converse Goes Green on the 18th event in San Antonio. If it's San Antonio, you got to have a little bit of luchador kind of thing going on. Like I love it. I love the Toros, right? And then of course, I tell you all the time that Josh is kind of goofy. He's our leader, but he's goofy. A little video real quick for Josh.
We got the youngest ever Toros fan here tonight. This is courtesy of owner Robert Smith. Thank you, Robert. We're going to make this little baby even more beautiful.
All right, one more segment to go. We'll wrap.
That's Josh at his best, right?
That's awesome. Hey, starting them young. I love it.
Yeah. As you heard, there's a lot of background noise, right? That's a good sign. If you're at Raising Canes, which typically doesn't have a lot of outdoor noise, right?
Yeah.
And you have that event, you have the radio going on, you hear people talking. It seemed like a very good event. I know Dustin was on the ground and he was able to get these photos and videos for us.
Yeah, I mean, they had well over 100, 150 people there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's strong. Those are very strong numbers. And I really like what they've done. They've really put a lot into this to bond with the community. And again, you know, it's the whole model of it's a community-owned team. It's the community's team. And these guys have really, you know, taken the shield and gone out there to get the Toro name out there for sure. So hats off to them.
Just a reminder, tickets are still on sale, $10 a game. You can get season tickets. There's a discounted price. Go there. Tickets will also be at all these booths and all these events. You can get season tickets at every single event and your merch. I know Alex just ordered a bunch of merch. I'm wearing red. I'm wearing the maroon right now. So yeah, it's coming, I guess. 4 games, 4 home games, $10. So for $40, even without the discount, if you do buy a season ticket, you do get a significant discount. And food trucks, man. When Josh told me
Yeah.
food trucks are doing it, it's not your typical, concession stand, just hot dog, and it's actually like food truck. I'm kind of a foodie. I love football. I love sports, but man, good food is important.
Oh,
What's
yeah,
your
I love
favorite
to
food
eat.
from a food truck?
Oh, I like cheesesteaks from depending
Cheesesteaks,
on where you get them. Good cheesesteak from a food truck is really good. And, believe it or not, any type of Asian food from a food truck is really, really good too. So, yeah, those would be how on my list. Are we going to vote on this, or is there going to be a survey, or like how are we going to know what
Well,
food trucks to
if
get?
you want a specific San Antonio area, if you want a specific food truck at the games, leave a comment below right here on this video on YouTube. Josh and his team, the ownership team, are taking notes of what comment, and maybe you can be the influencer to get that food truck at a Toros game. But when we come back from our partner, South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital, a little ad that they have, we're going to talk about the Continental Shift. We're gonna switch some things here. Alex loves the fan stuff. You can tell he likes food a little bit too, right? Like he likes the fan stuff, but the man only does this show for football talk. So we got to talk more football. All right, right here on Toro Talk.
South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital and Outpatient Center is named one of the top 5 hospitals in the state of Texas for joint procedures. Our integrated approach ensures a smooth journey from diagnosis to recovery. We are a tradition of excellence and a legacy of caring.
Thank you to our partners, South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital in San Antonio. Alex,
Hey, they're
I
going to be
told you
taking care of our guys too, Webb. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
They do.
They're going to take care of our guys, and again, that's another thing Josh and those guys and the ownership group have done, is to make sure our players are going to be taken care of. Yeah. So the partnership with Complete Care with South Texas Spine and Surgical, I mean, our guys will be getting good care. So even though they're partners and we love talking about them, we were going to really appreciate what they do for our guys.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we talked about this in the preseason. We're going to talk about the rules, how they're a little different than the NFL rules. We talked about the Rouge Point. Alex read the entire rule book in the entire world on his flight to his location right now. So, Alex, you wanted to correct something from the Rouge Point before we go on to our new subject.
Yeah, I did. So we talked about the Rouge last week and covered that, and how a team can score a point and sort of the strategy around it. One key note, though, we're going to use the NFL kickoff in the Continental Football League. So if the ball is kicked out of the end zone or through the end zone, the Rouge will not be in play on the kickoff. So that's the caveat. So a team can't kick it through the end zone and just get a point on the kickoff. So it has to be fielded in the end zone and not brought out. It would be the Rouge. But if you kick it out of the end zone, no point.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
Sounds good. This time we're talking about another Continental Shift. Talking about that interview with Commissioner Kelly. I thought it was really cool because I think he's talking about the Elam ending of this is where this idea of the fourth quarter being different than the rest of the game. For those that don't follow basketball, Elam ending, you add like 15 points to the leading score. Say it's 50 to 45. The winning point total would be 65. First team to 65 wins. And so it's different than just a quarter like we have here in America. He was watching in Canada. So he brought that idea to football. And this is where you got the Rouge. Obviously, that's Canadian. But the third down and 20-second play clock.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild for an American watching game. And I'm thinking Texas right here, right? Like that's red-blooded American, right? They are football 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They did that for so many years, and then they started air raid and all that, and they invented everything. And if you talk to Josh, they are the creator of everything good in football. Third down. They're only playing 3 downs.
Yeah.
How do you think that affects the game? We'll start there.
Speeds it up. So it's going to speed it up. You're going to see more possessions. So, the third down, a couple things. If you think about we talked a little bit about the neutral zone and how the defensive line and the offensive line, you have to have this yard between them in Canadian football. So, one thing that does for American fans to keep an eye out is on third down and like less than a yard or a yard, you're almost going to see a team every single time go for it. Because of the neutral zone and needing the 3 downs. It puts a sense of urgency, I think, too, to get plus yards on first down, and people think, oh, it's 3 downs, they throw it all over. Well, they do throw it all over, but sometimes if you watch a good CFL game, they get the running game going, you get 6-7 yards on first down, and that makes a very manageable second down. And then if you don't get it, usually, you can go for it on that third and short if you need to. The 3 downs, though, is going to give you more possessions because it does stand to reason that you're going to be exchanging possession more because of the third down. It's not always going to get the first down on just 3 or, needing that fourth down. You don't have it now. So you have to punt it away. So that's one, real difference. We talk about 3 downs, but when I watch Canadian football, I don't feel that it really changes. It changes the dynamic some, but it's not like people would panic over it. Oh my God, we lost the down. Now we have to sling it all over the place. You can still play football within those 3 downs. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Fair enough. How about the 20-second play clock? Obviously, this speeds it up, and this is a game changer. How does this affect the game? We'll start there.
Yeah, well, if you're calling a game, it's gonna from the players to the coaches. From the coaches, you got to get the play in. You got 20 seconds. You don't have a lot of time to screw around. So that's number one. So your tempo in calling the game is going to have to be much faster.
Mike Leach, right? Mike Leach, which fits Bedwell, right? And Hal Mummy that are in this league.
Absolutely. On the ball. The other thing too is it affects your personnel groupings on offense and defense. You're not going to be able to sub out a lot. If you sub, you're going to have to sub quick. The other thing too, from like a home field advantage standpoint, Josh, if you're listening, get you some really good ball boys to set the ball and keep it moving out there too. You don't have a lot of time to be dallying around spotting the ball and whatnot. But the 20-second clock, I think, is even more impactful than the 3 downs, if I'm being brutally honest. That's going to change the tempo. A lot of these guys, too, that are used to, running a deep pattern and then waving their hand to come out, can't come out because you don't have a lot of time to sub. You're going to have to get line up and do it again. I think Coach Kelly Commissioner Kelly called it gladiator football, and it is.
You talked about the play calling. So, obviously, it would have to be very simplistic, right? You can't. I think Commissioner Kelly referenced Andy Reid and how it takes 5 seconds to say his play, but you only have 20 seconds, so you're using a quarter of the time. How? So does that mean everyone's going to have a basic, or is it explain that from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think the really cool thing about the air raid is that it's very simple in that you just have a few play calls, maybe 10, 12, I think. That can vary from week to week and what packages you put in, but they'll have maybe it's a single call and that puts them in a set, and they have a little verbiage around it, but it's not you're not going to have pro right wide trade strong zip. You're not going to have a lot of time to call out play in the huddle. A lot of the stuff could possibly be on the ball. I don't know how much, no huddle and tempo will play into what they're looking to do. But, on that, then pretty much everything's being signaled in with a hand sign. And, the receivers will look, they know the sign, they know the play, they'll have that. So long-winded way of saying the air raid lends itself very, very well to this 20-second clock condition.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the defense. What kind of personnel do you need? We talked about linebackers. What kind of personnel do you need on the defensive side of the ball to stay in this game? Does all 11 really need to be able to cover, or at least 9 would be able to at least be able to do a little bit different? Obviously the 2 D tackles aren't going to really cover that much, but with the 3 downs and the 20-second play clock, you need a well-conditioned team, right? You can't just have
no question.
You can't have the 400-pound guys playing in that rapid pace, right? That's right.
Yeah, the thing about it though too is, and it does come into play with some of the bigs up front. So I'm betting Coach Glanville's going to have run an odd front, so probably see a 3-4 on defense, and I bet the three up front will be pretty big. But they got to be ready to go. They got to be in shape because they might not be able to sub them out, if the other team is moving quickly. And then I think going back to our talk about the linebackers, I think this is where those guys really come and play. You have your three with the four who can come off the edge, who can drop into coverage, who can stay in the middle and maybe stuff the run. So, I mean, having that versatility there is certainly a great thing. But, you're just not going to have a lot of time to, take, check the sheet, get the call, swap guys in and out. It's going to be quick.
For a coach, which style do you prefer more?
I
know you haven't lived the 22nd.
No.
With the communication system, but which style would you prefer as a coach?
I think as a fan, I like the 20-second play clock. As a coach, I want every second I can get because
so you like the first three quarters.
Right.
But that final quarter as a coach is way more stressful than if it was just 40 seconds all the entire game.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys, I think the coaches with CFL experience probably can acclimate to it a bit. But, I just think about cutting that time basically in half to call your play and get set. It's going to be a challenge. Is
this the most influential rule change? Is this the biggest one? I know we'll talk about other ones, but do you think this is the one that's going to change, bring out this brand of summer football and make it so unique that people will, especially the people in San Antonio that go to the games, they'll enjoy that style right then and there?
I think that's a fair statement, Webb. I think it probably will impact the game the most. Obviously 3 downs, you have one less down. Yeah. Okay, so that's one. The 20-second clock is going to speed everything up. So I think the combination of those two, we can talk about the Rouge, and that's different, but this will truly affect every snap, right? The 20-second clock in the fourth quarter. So, I'd probably say it's the biggest.
Do you anticipate teams to operate at a slower pace the first 3 quarters? I'm just trying to, or do you see them being, okay, this is how we're going to go. We're going to be playing continental football or continental shift all 4 quarters. Like that's the kind of player we need, right?
Question. Yeah. See, Webb, you're out there thinking. You're always thinking.
It's my type of year. As soon as the game starts, then you take over everything.
But because I'm thinking, I can see us playing the regular pace. You got the 4 downs, you're in your tempo, you're in your rhythm. And then when the fourth quarter hits, everything shifts and it's this change. But you bring up an interesting point. If you went hurry up and quick early or during the entirety of the game, you might not be getting every snap off before that 20-second play clock in the first 3 quarters, but pretty close. You might not notice a ton of difference in terms of moving into that fourth quarter. That's a great point. It'll be interesting to see how teams handle that. I just had always assumed they'd kind of play, take your time, signaling it in, and all that stuff. The first 3 quarters, but we'll see.
Well, the only thing I'm saying is, so you're going to find a type of player, right, that fits that fourth quarter. And with the roster size being so small, that type of player is now the type of player for the fourth quarter. You got to use in the first quarter too. Like you can't just 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Like you have to. There's going to be a lot of tempo to it. So I'm just thinking.
Yeah. We'll see what the philosophy is. We'll see what Coach Bedwell decides his offensive philosophy is going to be, because it has to be complementary to the defense. It kind of fits. That's the thing. Some of these offenses get 75, 80 plays in a game. And it's great. We got a ton of plays, but they're putting their defense out there a lot, and the defense is gas too. So, it's about managing the game. So it'll be interesting to see how they do handle that. So we'll keep an eye out for that very early in the season.
Fair enough. All right, Alex, you got anything else? We did a second episode. I guess the rust is off a little bit. No?
Yeah, the rust is off. And thank
Mike
you to the fans.
We're ready to go.
Oh, we're ready. This was smooth. And, we had a really good following last week. A lot of people watched. Really appreciate that. Continuing to grow. We're just getting started with this, but really appreciate it. Please leave comments and feedback in the comments below. Really like interacting with you guys. And if there's suggestions for the show, or you think I said something really dumb, let me know about it.
Believe me, guys, you'll have a ton of opportunity to leave a comment like that. Maybe not in the preseason, but when we start talking football. All right, Alex. We want to thank our partners, Complete Care and South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital. We'll do this again. We'll go to the fan events at Fiesta on the 16th. Go to the Converse Goes Green on the 18th. Go meet Josh. Meet Josh and his team. Maybe Ace will be there. Ace, I know, is not in San Antonio, but maybe he'll be at a lot of those events. Go meet those guys. You'll fall in love with them. Like you'll just want to be a part of this because they have big plans in the future. For Alex Allman, I'm Brian Webster. This is Toro Talks. And Alex, you want to close it down like you always do?
Till our next visit. So long, everybody.